Yo, what's up, everybody? What's up? This is your boy, LaShawn Sugar Ray Marston, host of the Suga Ray Show. We're here with another wonderful episode with another extremely esteemed guest, man. One of my favorite people on the planet, my brother Y. Phenomenal artist, activist, artivist, founder of Creative Expressions. I'm going to get into his bio and then we can get right talking to him.
Thank you.
Y is an omnidimensional artist plus activist from Jamaica, Queens. Inspired by hip hop culture, his words, melodies, and sounds flowed onto stages and studios internationally. After studying audio and music production in world class studios, he searched for a greater purpose. Y used his artistic skills to serve others, working as artist educator, composing original thematic music across the globe via his company, Creative Expressions. This purpose-driven work allows him to artistically develop as a musician, vocalist, songwriter, and producer. Yo, brother Y, man, how are you today? Good afternoon. How's it going?
I'm honored, man. Just like we said before you hit the record button, this is it's just something that touches the depths of my soul because I am hugely inspired by your work. You are someone who lives by the term artivism. And you did the most amazing displays of it. And you've always warmed my heart. You're my neighbor. You live in my community.
Yes, sir.
It was a year plus of being here. I was just literally alone in the trenches, trying to find my way on the north side. I'm a south side originally. And you made me feel home, man, in my community and through the work we've done thus far at Urban Vegan Roots, through your support at Freya, through the music, through the art, and just you being my brother, feeding me, and just like showing the highest levels of love. It was just an affirmation of seeing something that I give to others coming back to me. And that's what you are, man. And I'm honored to be on this platform, healthy mind, healthy body, healthy soul. You're someone such an inspiration. So I'm thankful that you value what I say to the degree that we can share this with others. So thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Of course. Yo, let's get right to it, man.
Yes.
I want to know, and I'm sure many others want to know, how'd you get the name Y? Where did that come from?
Yeah. So, for those who need to know the government, I got a 4-letter name. It's Yogi. It's Yogi. And originally, I didn't know what it was. I come from a Guyanese West Indies household. I didn't really know what yoga was. But then when I, came of age, people used to always, when I was a kid, Yogi, where's Boo Boo? The cartoon character was me. So, I went through that where people I had a different name. I wasn't John or Paul or, what I mean? And I know you have an original name too. So that was always, and I was Y, so I was always at the end when they put things in alphabetical. So that was always deep to me. And, of course, Y, if you see the etymology and the question why is really connects to what you said earlier, purpose, right? So as I was on my artistic name, I first originally went by my full initials, which were Y and G. So I was like, YG. It was kind of like a little play, like, yo, YG. And then the dude from Cali, shout out to YG, he came out and there's a funny story. I went to England and, they were doing press on me. And I wasn't a known artist, but because they're like, oh, snap, YG's coming. When I went to England, they actually grabbed the other YG stuff and put it in. And I was like, oh man, it's crazy. So they basically grabbed his music and his stuff and it was a mistake because when they looked up YG, he showed up,
Wow.
So that was an affirmation. And then I was like, well, what am I going to do? And, when I was going to go by Yogi, and then I was like, you know what? Yogi's like a title. And honestly, that's a very high level title, spiritual masters and things like that. But I was like, you know what? Let me just go to the most minimal thing I could do. And as a musician, there's this thing, it's the rest notes and the smallest notes. So Y is, I'm gonna let the nerd out, is monosyllabic. So Y is one syllable. So this means to have a one syllable name is saying my name takes the least amount of effort possible. And it leads to a question. So when people refer to me, why? They are literally asking themselves, what's their purpose? Why am I doing this? Why? What's up? So you get it? It becomes this double entendre. So I love when people talk to me, they ask themselves why. Why? What's up? Why? What's going on? Why? You get it? It becomes a very activation of hopefully an introspection where people can see not only what they're doing, but the why behind it. And then, yeah, I just stylized it with one letter, a Y and a question mark, to represent the unknown. I'm a big fan of Malcolm. You know, thank you for giving me the book to reread. Malcolm had the X when he wanted to relinquish what was there. I used the question mark to represent the unknown, to be like, I know that I don't know, and I know that knowledge is infinite. So always keep a student mindset. Always keep your claim malleable so you can keep on learning and growing and discovering. So it was a big reason for that. And, you know, I've been rocking with the why ever since, you know, and the mantra is not show love. We out here.
Powerful. Why not show love? Let's get it. So let's go to the music. I know you've been doing music for a while. You do music across the spectrums, right? You play the instruments, you write songs, you rap, you sing as well. What came first and how did that develop in you?
Well, you know, Southside, we outside Jamaica, Queens, Avenue. I come from the era where, you know, it was very prevalent in the streets. My mom worked in the Coliseum, legendary place. If anybody who doesn't know, the Coliseum is a spot, 165th Street and Jamaica Ave, where you could catch everything from the Jamaican spots to mixtapes when they were literally on tapes. Clue used to be out there. It was rich. And every day after school, you know, I used to walk down the Ave to go see my mom because my mom worked in the basement in the Coliseum. So like it was an affirmation. Now, one day in the 90s when I was just a little kid, the Wu-Tang video was shot in the Coliseum for ice cream. Get all up in your guts, friends for little butts if you can, chocolate the luck. And I got to like see that. And I was like, wow. And they look like superheroes to me, man. I was like, yo, this is happening in my area. And then, you know, we saw what hip hop came to be. Everybody's like, oh, it's going to be a fad. But I realized, wow, I was birthed into something. Me being of Guyanese, West Indies descent, I started making those parallels and I started going back and discovering. So it was the ciphers, right? During those days, I would see ciphers on the street. You know, cats was coming out with the big boom box, blaring sound systems, cats fresh to death in the Sherling coats and those old Timberland hats used to be cut. You know, the baggy jeans era. It was just like, yo, we was icons, man. And those imagery stuck in me. And I didn't really come from a musical family, but the origins was poetry. I know you're a phenomenal writer yourself. As a kid, I started writing short stories and poetry competitions. And when I was like in later elementary school, I won one of the citywide joints, you know, where they asked you to write that. And it was honestly the first time that I got applause. And like, I wasn't the most sports kid. I wasn't the most academic, got the best grade. I didn't really find my thing, but I found out when I put that pen to the paper, I got a reaction, right? And then I used poetry. Little did I know, I always liked roses are red, violets are blue, sugar with me, and so are you. The musical aspect of it is community of color. You know, I like to put a rhythm to it. So naturally it was poetry writing. And then, you know, after I went through my stuff, I got kicked out of high school for behavior, and I used to cut and go to the library and I made a composition notebook. And I used to cut school to go to the library because I'm like, they're never going to find me in the library. So I had to cut school to get my education. And that's when I started writing. I was drawing graffiti too. So those were the two elements. But I was scared to rhyme because, you know, like I would just write it down and show it to people like, hey, take a look. But somebody, I think it was a friend of mine. Oh, yeah, it was my man, Rich. He said, yo, why don't you read it, like say it out loud? And I remember feeling nervous, but I did it. And I read something and I had deja vu, that same thing I had as a little kid. Reaction. I was like, yo, that shit is dope. They was like, I didn't know you rapped. So I just thought I was writing poetry, but because the poetry rhymed, they told me, yo, you rap. And I was like, so then I had that. It was like somebody put this. I was like, wait, I thought I became the Wu-Tang that I saw as a kid. Right? Wow. And then from there, bro, I got a confidence in something because I guess I was searching for it, you know. Like I said, never really found anything. And then that became my thing. You know, I started writing, I started filling notebooks. And what was different is I started sharing it out loud. Powerful. You know, So I encourage everybody who's just take your ideas. You never know what they're going to tell you. I thought I was just writing poetry.
Yeah.
And then when I said it out loud, because it rhymed, someone told me it was rap. And then I was like, wow. And then I said, I could do this. And then I just started getting the old cassette recorders. And I used to play instrumentals and record myself on an old cassette recorder. It was actually an answering machine. So I started hitting record on the answering machine, playing the instrumental out the speaker. And then I would walk around with a Walkman, even though they was dead at the time. The CD players and MP3 players was coming out, but they would see me walking around with a Walkman, and I would listen to what I would record.
Wow.
On that. And then that was the origin, man, of how it started, man. And
incredible.
Yeah, so that's how it all started out in the park, man, as they say.
It all started in the park, baby.
You know, Jamaica, Queens, walking down the Ave, Goose Pond Park, near Jamaica High School. I was an Edison cat, you know, and then that was it. And I started it late, but once I got into it after the high school era, I stuck with it, and then it led me. And, you know, I'll go into that later on in it too, but that was the foundation, man. It got me into it. So writing, sharing it, and then I took it back with actually recording it on cassettes. So I used to buy a stack of cassettes like every month, and then I would like listen to the cassettes. I would just start listening to myself over and over, and people just like, why are you walking around with cassette player? And I'm like, no, I'm listening to myself. And that's how I used to memorize
powerful
my lyrics.
Powerful. So let's stay there real quick, talking about music. Your passion for music is developing. How did your parents and family take to that, right? Coming from a Caribbean background where it's law, doctor, or education, right? It's those three things. Anything creative is like, man, what you doing? You got to go get the job, right? How did your family
you must know my life, bro. That was it. So flaked out of high school. I had enough credits, so I went to a credit recovery program and made up my credits because they was trying to tell me to, go get your GED. But I was like, I already had enough credits. I was just cutting school because it wasn't stimulating me. And then I got my, they sent me to, ironically, I live on Newtown now, but it was called Newtown Ave in Corona. They sent me, Newtown High School. And the school was a jail, bro. So because I was wilding out, cutting school, started smoking bud, I was reading all this knowledge about like hip hop, Zulu Nation, Malcolm X. I was getting knowledge of self. They found out I was cutting school, and they was like, yo, we got to suspend you. We want to kick you out. You know what I mean? And I was like, yo, it is what it is. And obviously, because I got suspended, police caught me in Goose Pond blazing a blunt doing school hours. You know what I mean? Shout out to and they honestly, I could say this was some traumatic shit. They humiliated me, man. They took me in the back. They told me they was gonna lock me up. They threatened my freedom as a 16, 17-year-old kid. You know what I mean? So like, they put me in cuffs. They held me in the paddy wagon, locked up with and I was telling this shit's too tight. And they just went around scooping up the other delinquents. And they brought me back into school through the front door with the cuffs on, bro. And like, for me, it was regular because, we got harassed by police on the reg in Jamaica. So like, I took it as a rite of passage. And they brought me into the dean's office with the cuffs. They're like, we found him in the park with weed. We got him with this. He's got this paraphernalia. I was reading on hip hop and culture. And it was like, he's reading gang paraphernalia. And then they was like, we think he's a gang member. And he might be in too. So like, they basically, I was like, I was literally getting knowledge coming from the library, printed out some things and was reading it, smoking my butt on a bench. You know what I'm saying? They cornered me. They cornered both sides of it. So these military tactics. And then they swooped it up. And I just stood there. I was like, I'm not running. I'm just going to stand my ground. I tossed the blunt in the joint. You know what I mean? You ain't catching this. Like, we good. I got nothing on me. But they still created that experience. And then the school suspended me, man. And then they called my parents. And Pop Dukes flipped out. What you doing with this? You're supposed to go to school, the old school West Indies energy. And, they was like, what are you doing with your life? So, my parents was called in. My dad didn't even want to go. My mom's came up with me, and it was like, my pops was just ready to wild out. And then, and then when they tried to talk to me, they was like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing all of this? Why are you smoking? Why are you doing all, because in the Guyanese household, it's drugs. So, what I mean? It's like, the buyer smoke drugs, you smoking drugs in school, you're joining gangs. What is this? And I tried to explain it, but nobody was believing me, man. And that shit hurt me because I was trying to quote Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, and like
Wow.
knowledge, and like, yo, you wasting your life. And then to be honest, man, it was a rough time where I went through a lot of friction. And then when I got my credits made up, I said I want to go and study music. And I said, yo, I want to be a musician. And then, it was that, nah, you wasting your life. You just trying to smoke weed all day and not get a real life. We didn't come to the immigrant story, We came to this country for you to have a better life. We was walking barefoot to school, 10 miles, you know what I mean? They hit me with that. And I was like, yo, and to be honest, I kind of put the notebook down, man.
Of course.
I didn't really, because I was no support. So years went by where nothing really happened. And I was like, man, I got to figure this out. So to be honest, it wasn't a good reaction, and it kind of impacted me in a way where I didn't really feel confident. I was building up what would become my future. And now I could look back and say that was a good test. But I think I had to even go beyond my parents. When I went into the school, my mom came. This was always a spiritual moment. The security guard was there, amazing Black woman. And she was talking to my mom. My mom was like pulling my ear, like, what are you doing? And like, being a disciplinarian, doing her best that she could. And, the security guard told my mom, she goes, you know what it is about your son? He's not a bad person. He's not a bad kid. He's actually really intelligent. But he's like, in this environment, she just pointed to the school. She's like, the way he operates, it's not respected in a place like this. He's
powerful.
So he's like, this is why your son is being suspended. Because if other people start acting like how he acts, they're not going to have that in this environment. And he's not a bad guy, but he's got to know when and where to do some things.
Powerful.
And I was like, and that made my mom ease up a little. My mom was like, oh, okay, wow, someone sees intelligence. He's like, nah, I see him. He reads books. He's because, I was looking for education. I just didn't think school was the best place to get it, So like, it was friction. I tried to go to York College for one semester in Southside, where I'm from. That was a dub. And then, I kind of went into the streets a little bit after that, to be honest, like, let me start selling this weed. Let me start doing this. I went to the Jamaicans on the Ave, picked up my first half ounce, you know what I mean? And kind of got into it from there, you know what I mean? And, I think my story where I went through a bit of friction. I was always rhyming a little bit on the side, but I was focused on getting this money because I knew I wasn't going to make it in school. I didn't want to do a conventional job. My parents worked hard, but I knew I was going to have to find my own way. And then, I dabbled into that, got into obtaining weapons and guns, like, I kind of let the streets mold me a little bit from that post-high school era. And, it was a little bit of a, everything got to have an ebb and flow.
Of course.
I thought I had something with the art, but I didn't know what to do with it, which is why I'm so big on art and led me to making things. Because I knew if I was just allowed to make art from when I wanted to, I would have been all right. But since everybody was like, nah, you can't do this, and I was just a kid, I put on my fuck the world hat and was like, all right, y'all want to see me? We getting on demon time now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I dabbled in there, became a petty hustler, picked up a couple guns, and you know what I mean? I'm past the statute of limitations, but on all of it.
No, absolutely.
You've been through it. So, it was a really rough time. And then, unfortunately, it culminated in me getting stabbed through an attempted murder from another brother who came out of jail. He saw I was hustling. He saw I bought a car. I was making moves on a small level. And then he saw, oh, it's a skinny dude. Let's go take over him. I'm out of let's go get him. And when we should have, I thought it was old school rules. We were supposed to fight the fair one. I put my pack down and the money on the floor. And I said, all right, if you get through me, it's yours. But we're going to shoot the fair. And then it wasn't a fair one. He saw I had the eye of the tiger. And then, I was doing my own dirt. I had some of the young heads hustling for me. 70-30 splits, you know what I mean? Let them make the thing. So, I want to take accountability for what I was doing wrong, but I didn't know. And then what I thought was going to be a fair fight with this dude, he saw, I guess maybe he felt it wasn't going to go his way. And then I ended up getting stabbed 6 times, including once in my lung. And the cops, because I got punctured in the lung and went to Jamaica Hospital. And right after, I was on a block where most of us hustled. I'll leave a block out of it for any reason. But I was on the block, and then they saw what happened. And because I got stabbed up while I was unconscious and it's a vital organ, they made it an attempted murder case because he had 2 felonies and this would have been his 3rd strike. So they wanted to use this situation to get him arrested for 25 to life. You know, it gets deep with the story, you know, but honestly, that was probably the best thing, because when I got stabbed and I had that moment where I was in the hospital, I couldn't breathe, my lung was filling up with blood, and my dude drove me over there. You know, I wrote a play about this called Shooter, you know, and yeah, I thought I was going to die, and I was happy to die. That was probably I was like, finally, I'm out of this shit. I'm out of this world. And they brought that stretcher chair, you know, and the joint, and it was like, yo, you got ID, and I couldn't talk because my shit was bleeding. I was like, yo, and then I pulled up my shirt. It was like an anime, the blood went, and then it was like, yo, gunshot, and that's all I remember. And then they sent out like the orderlies and whatnot, and I saw that bed, and I was like, yo, this is it. And then I ended up waking up a day later with the cops at my bedside with a tube in my lung. And then I had to figure out life and start again. And the first thing I thought about was music. And I said, God, you've gifted me with life. When I had that near-death experience, I saw what was God. And when I met God, God was myself without flaw. And I was like, yo, I'm dead. Yes. And he was like, nah, you going back. You missing it. You missing it. You had everything set up for you, but you didn't stick to the art. You went this way. And now you see when you're not in your purpose. So I need you to go back and never forget what your purpose is. And I got sunned by a version of me was God. So it was like me. And anytime I try to say something, God as me was like, shut up. You listen now. I'm going to make it clear for you. And like, I don't know other people who had near-death experiences, but I think it really does connect, man. So that was when I was around 24 that happened. And after that, I've been doing music ever since.
Wow. Powerful.
I got a message, man. And that, to anyone watches this, everyone is born with a divine path. Once you're on that divine path, the world is your oyster. Once you deviate from that, the world starts to push you back on that path, and we'll make sure. So everything rough that you go through, my brothers and sisters, know that it's happening for a reason. Because I was thinking my life was falling apart, but it was really just trying to bring me back to the art, because I didn't have the confidence to like rebel against my parents or really pick up. And then that's when I was like, nah, this music thing gonna be for life. And when I made it like that, I have never looked back. I've never worked a job again. I never did anything except before. Yeah.
Powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that, brother. I'm glad that you survived. I'm glad that you endured. I'm glad that you're still here. So let's stay right there. What was the first art or music that you created out of that experience? Was it Shooter? Was that the first thing you created after that?
No, it was so check it out, right? I was hustling, right? I got stabbed, and you know, we had a little trap spot in Bushwick, you know. So I called my dudes. I had several guns, and because I was still the why you know today, I was still a nice dude. My goody goons, as you know, they came to my bedside in the hospital, and they was like, nah, why this ain't supposed to happen to you. They was like, yo, they knew I had the thing. So they was like, yo, tell us where the thing's at. We know where this guy at. They're like, let's go. They was on demon time. They was like, nah, it's this guy stabbed you. You try to shoot a fair one. They was like, nah. And you know how heads are who really in the streets. I just had a toe in the water. The real heads, of course, I'll leave their names out. They was like, yo, why? We doing this. You stay right here. You ain't. They were like, we go. And I was like, nah. I had to be like, nah. I called the spot where the stuff was at, whatever butt I had left over. Like, it was like a half a pound or something, and where the ratchets was at. My mom didn't know I was because I was in a hospital. I was gone for like a day. So I called my mom on the phone. I had to tell her where the guns was in the crib. But my mom was like, who are you? She like, I broke her heart. I said, and I was like, there's another one. There's a 2-2 over here. There's a 9 over here. You know, and my mom was like, and I was like, Ma, the cops is going to come. Don't think, get rid of it. Throw the scales away, get rid of it. They have my address. I played possum when the cop came. So when I woke up and I had a tube in my joint, I was like this. And I saw what the cop, I said, I went back to sleep. I said, yo, I said, these guys going to have to say something. And they was talking. They were like, nah, he's on the block. We assume he was this. We locked up a couple young heads. They say he was hustling some stuff. We're going to threaten him. We're going to tell him he's got to testify. They basically said, you need to testify that you're afraid for your life. This was a murder attempt. He tried to get you, and you need to testify that so we can lock this guy up for his 3rd strike, 25 to life. He was put in Rikers, And then there was 1 year before that case. Of course, I stopped smoking. I let go of everything. And then that's when I started getting into the veggie lifestyle. I started getting into a lot. I was just trying to find God. I said, God, what am I going to do? I got a pro bono lawyer. And I was like, why do I have to go to this case? They're like, yo, you're a stab victim and they have records. So like you're subpoenaed to go to court. He's in Rikers. He's creating a case against you to say that he stabbed the drug dealer who was fucking up the community. And it's going to be this. And he's like, you're subpoenaed. And I was like, oh shit. So it was about a year. They held him in Rikers till the court date, right? They pushed it back, the system. The cops try to give me a whole script and be like, you need to say that this is afraid for your life. You think he's going to retaliate moms. They just wanted to see another.
Of course.
And then,
prison. Of course.
Ironically, I started developing empathy because I was like, damn, it was wrong to get these little kids a pack. Damn, I should have stuck to the music, man. You know, like during that 1 year up until the trial,
it
was real, man. So like, yo, that, and then I said, you know what? When I get up on there, I got the cops off my back because, you know, they started hounding me, bro. They was harassing my phone. They wanted me to rehearse it.
No, of course.
You know what it is.
That's what they do.
They want to guarantee this guy's going to get a case. So you know what I did? When I started telling them, nah, screw y'all, you know, I was still on my rebel shit. I just told them, I was like, I got y'all. But then in my head, I said, nah, when I go there on that fateful day, I'm going to tell the truth. And I know the truth is going to set me free. I'm going to leave out some things that will get me locked up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I'm going to say he's paid for his sins in his year. I paid for my sins in blood. Mm-hmm. I'm calling it even. And I don't have hatred for this man. And I do not want to see another brother locked up. And, you know, that was like my Jesus Judas moment where the person who, and yo, honestly, I never did shit to that motherfucker, man. He should have just shot the, and when I saw him in the courtroom, I looked at him dead in the face. He was in his fancy suit. I said, yo, bro, you should have just shot the fair one with me. And that's when I knew there's no respect in these streets, man.
Yeah.
I'm not a big dude or nothing. I was like, yo, this dude was a stocky dude, came out of his 2 bids. And I'm like, yo, you had to poke me up. And like, yo, you could have hit me once. You jigged me, man. You was trying to take me out this bitch, bro. Damn. So I told him, bro, you could have. I said, yo, I forgive you. But yo, you should have just shot a fair one with me, man. Don't ever call me. Don't ever put my name in the streets as a snitch or this and that. Because, you know, I had to face the hood repercussions too.
Of course.
You know, so like I had to look at that. And I was like, nah, man. So like it was very hard, man. But like that's why I have the ability to do what I do today because we survived things like that. And and for what I went through, I didn't even think that was trauma because everybody else was getting shot. They didn't know their parents. I was like, no, my shit, nothing. But, you know, of course, then I had to realize through my plant medicine journey and that, yo, it was a traumatic experience I went through and I had to heal from that. So, yeah, thank you for listening.
Of course. Thank you for sharing that. So what was the first piece of music or art that you created out of that experience?
Well, you know what happened? I picked up all my old notebooks and I dusted them off, right? And this is where freestyle came into play. I looked at the books, but I went through so much from that time, from like 18 to like 24, 25. And I was like, I have to reinvent myself. So you know what I started doing? I just started going off at the top. You know, I just started being like, yo, I started putting on beats. You know, YouTube was coming out and getting more popular. So I was putting on beats on YouTube. I cracked the pirated software. I was recording on the little skinny mic. And I would just load up like 5-10 beats and I would just start to eat them, man, you know, and I would just like let out all my anger and let out all my pain through improvisation, you know, and I just would like, you know, I would start crying and spitting these verses and these thoughts that were just, it was therapy, man. You know, in the hood, we don't know about therapy. I was trying to release all that thing from my early childhood up until, you know, my around mid-20s, you know, so like, and then I just kept doing that. And I started posting shit on SoundCloud. And anytime there was a cypher, I wrote down a list of every open mic. And I was like, African, I'm there. This joint, I'm there. You know, my friend who had got murdered, Matthew Hall, who I wrote into play, he was a dude who took me to the first Neo Rican Poets Cafe, the Lower East Side, Bowery Poetry Club. I wrote about him in the play too. He had got shot and I always felt like it was me who should have died and him, because he was the one who put me on to being vegetarian at the time, you know. He was a Manhattan kid, so he gave me that knowledge. So like when he got shot after I went through my stabbing, I said, I'm going to dedicate my life to this. And he was such a positive dude. His name was Matthew Optimus Rhyme Hall, and I kind of became him in a weird way. Like I embodied his character traits. I got into the vegginess. I started getting into the RBG lifestyle. I started doing more volunteer work. The activism part of me came because we was doing the anti-war rallies post September 11th and all of that. You know what I mean? So like, I just took on that spirit that he had and I kept it in me. So yeah, it was the freestyle, to be specific with that. It was recording on a little ghetto 1/8-inch computer mic, the skinny mics, and stealing beats from the internet and loading them into a software. And then eventually I decided to save up the last of the money I had from my hustling, and I invested that into going to a 9-month audio school in the city. Nice. And I did that in an internship, and that's when I started learning how to use the recording software and becoming an audio engineer. And then I was in studios, and then I would trade my skills for studio time. And then I eventually built my first like home recording studio after that experience.
Nice. Incredible. So let's fast forward, right? Let's fast forward to you grew through that. Now you have a band, right? Where I met you, right? The Why Not Show Love band. How did that come about, and how important is collaboration to you in that way?
Yeah, man. Well, as I mentioned, everything leads you to the next, right? So the poetry led me to the rhymes. The insecurity led me to the streets, you know? The stabbing led me back to going to my purpose. And then when I was rapping, I was like, yo, I got to make beats because the software started catching up, right? So when you used to take these beats, it would get kicked off of the website. So I'm like, damn, I got to find out how to make beats. So I went to audio school to try to find producers. I was like, yo, I could rhyme. I got this audio engineering skill. Who make the beats? I get into, shout out to my man Brady. He knows my mind power. The first producer I worked with. His mom was a piano teacher and a vocal coach.
Nice.
So this was also a big prophecy. So he was into hip hop. Ironically, this was a white dude from Utah who came here to go to the same audio school I went to.
Powerful.
This guy used to carry all the CDs in this Bible, on a big ass CD binder.
Yep.
This cat would go and look up the CDs. He would find out what sample it was, and he would go and buy the record. And he had all these records. He lived in Astoria in LIC. Wow. So we used to come by after school, get some weed. I started smoking again. You know, things came back. And I was like, yo, we would go buy a record from the record shop or the thrift store, the cats who sell them on the streets. We would come back, roll up some weed after the joint. He would make the beat, and I saw him do something I'll never forget. He would make the sample, right? We would sample it because both of us knew how to do the audio recording. So we would set it up, record. He was more the producer, and I was the writer. So we would put the needle on the record, we'd record it in, we would chop it up in the software, sample it. Then he had an old Yamaha keyboard, right? And this is what opened up the musician door for me. He would play the bass lines and melodies on top of the sample.
Wow.
And I was like, how do you do that? Like, how do you know the note? Like, that shit looked like magic to me, bro. And I used to watch him over and over again. And I was like, how? Because he didn't know if it was C or B flat or any of that. He would do it all by his ear. And he'd be like, oh, I just find it. I find the melody and then I add on to it. And then I was like, so I watch this man do this. And then I started making beats for a while. But I didn't have the musicality yet, but I knew that it was possible. So I started studying. And then we eventually built a studio together called the Space Station. And then that's how I got into the deeper level of producing music. And then eventually it got me into playing. I started with the keyboard, and then I ran into a great jazz mentor who taught me like the scales. He knew like the major scale and some of the basic music theory. He was also a Trini dude from Jamaica, Queens on Merrick Boulevard, played gospel, amazing Black musician. And he kind of took me under the wing because he saw that I was willing to learn. So between my man Brady and Professor Keyboard, shout out to Professor Keyboards from Jamaica Legend. He used to produce with Large Pro and LL Cool J back in the day in like the 80s and 90s. So he saw that energy in me, and then he started actually teaching me the beginnings of music, like music theory and those things. I fell in love, man, and I kept on growing and growing, and still, still keeps on growing. But yeah.
No, of course. How did the band come together? Specifically the Why Not Show Love band.
So the first band had those two guys, which is why I had to mention. I used to call it Y and the XYZs. You're gonna see with the long hair. Now, because I wasn't a trained musician, I would play with whoever would play with me. So I would be like, yo, it's Y and whoever. So when I'll do the show, so I'd be like, yo, it's X, Y, and Z. It's we playing with everybody, you know? So before the Show Love Band came out, I played with anyone who was willing to play with me. And those two guys, Brady, my man Mind Power, he played bass, and Professor Keyboards played keys. Nice. And my man Joe Palmer was on drums, a legendary son of another jazz musician that studied with Miles Davis. So like, I was too insecure to play the instruments. I was like, let me just rap over this live music.
Powerful.
I started rhyming over live music, and then it hit me different, as you know. So then I was like, you know what? When I started building up my confidence to play, I started saying, because why was a little bit too hard to create. So I started saying, why not show love? I looked it up on all social media and got the domain name, and I bought it. And I was like, it's going to be why not show love? So then when I was doing my first band, you know, they were more advanced than me, and I was still a rookie. So, you know, they moved on. Some people had kids, came in. This is where E Major comes into play, man.
E Major.
My legend. E Major is an MC, producer, and he grew up playing instruments in the church. Queensbridge legend. E Major comes to my show because his friend told him I'm nicer than him with the bars. E Major came there to take me out in a battle. I'm playing with the band. My regular drummer couldn't make it. We had some dude, I'm not going to shout him out, but he just wasn't hitting on the drums. E Major standing in front of the stage grilling me, bro. Because his dude told him that my bars is harder than his. So E Major's like, I'm not having this. He came on some Queensbridge goon on me. He said, yo, I'm here. Like, he came like he was looking for blood. So I was like, yo, bro. So instead of him battling me, we did a freestyle together. Nice. And we hit him with the bars. I said, yo, bro, I'm not here for this. I'm here for the love, you know. And I started saying, just show love. And he started rhyming too. And he's like, yo, I play the drums too. So then I was like, yo, E, get on the drums. So nice. E, you know,
he's a master.
He's a master, and he black. So like, he came with the sacred.
Yeah, he do.
Like, and I was like, yo, E, I'm getting rid of the other drummer. Like, like, let's do this. Like, let's do this. Let's make this band, you know? And then he stayed with me, man. He stayed with me, and we used to rehearse every other day. We used to come to Astoria Soundworks because he was on the north side and I was on the south. So we would come in and we would exchange. And he was nice with the beats, making the beats on Reason. So he helped me as a producer. And he was the one that helped me develop my musical ear, because he would just work with me. And Brady was cool, but E Major was like, nah, why? Don't give up. Don't give up. Like, you could do this. Like, you need that person in your life. 100%. And then I put E Major onto teaching artist work. So he became a teacher. And then, of course, that was kind of like the beta version of the Show Love Band. Nice. I called it Velvet Do-Rag for a while.
Okay.
So it's always a journey, bro. And anybody who's willing to heal through music and show love to yourself, that's what it is. So it was a lot of steps. And yo, this was over the course of almost 10 years now. Yeah. So like, you know, heads came in. I got the bag from teaching. Whoever was willing to help the kids and do the community work, I would bring them in the band. So that's how the Show Love Band started, because you had to show love to other people, because he showed love to me, because I was too scared to be a musician, you know? And then he was like, nah. So I realized, yo, if you show love, I'm going to always invite everybody in. And I come from hip hop, so I never forgot about the cypher. And that's how, long story short, fast forward, the band kept developing. And as you see, I have the same people I work with, but I rotate. Like Daniel came in recently.
Yep. Shout out to Daniel. We interviewed him yesterday. He shouted you out, man.
Yeah, so like that's where the gang is. Suga Ray is part of the Show Love Band, because it's their OD Show Love. And everybody in the squad sing. Everybody rap. Everybody is everything, man. So like we're here to activate our organisms to our highest potential, which is the activism. But that's how the band came together. It is still core members, and then there's also people who come and go, because I learned that that's part of the Divine Cipher. You know,
100%.
I'm not here to force anybody to do anything, but I know we some of the baddest dudes out here.
Oh no, yeah, you are.
Baddest cats out here, baddest women out here on the planet. Yeah, and yo, if you show love and you step your stuff up and you're willing to heal through music, the Show Love Band is always hiring. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's incredible. And you all are incredible, you know. And you know, I've been speaking with Lucy, you know, Two Feathers, for the last few months about some decisions that I'm contemplating making. And whichever direction I go, as I rise, I'm bringing you guys with me, because I don't do that part of it, right? I'm an artist, every bit of an artist, but I don't do that music part that you guys do so well, that we can combine the music and the speaking, right, to further drive the message, further drive the message home. So with that, let me ask you, how does art and activism work together?
Artivism, as you know, the hybrid word of art and activism. Now, for me, my definition of activism, because I used to be involved in political things, but you and I have many a conversation on the contradictions in the politics. I define activism as activating your organism to its highest potential, which means to have the highest level of love for yourself. In having that love and showing yourself that love, you will default serve community. You will default help others, because when you are abundant, you know that you have something to offer. So that's why I combine the word artivism, using that where you have to pour into your cup till it overflows. So that's how the activism came about. So anytime we do a show, you've seen it, we make sure we fundraise for the clothing drives, like the same exact work you do, bro. That's why you're part of the Show Love Band, right? Like, it's about getting beyond self, you know? So like, that's where activism came from me. And then when I realized I got deeper into the health, you know, I started being more strict with my diet. I started getting more into the physical fitness. I started meditating. And these things became non-negotiables for me, bro. You know, like, that's why I felt so empowered by it. And that is a form of activism.
100%.
I keep people looking outside, but it's really what you do internally that activates your organism. So that's how I define activism and how I put it to use through building community through art.
So, but how do they, like, what have you done or what do you do, right, to blend them, right? Not just for internally, because that's one thing, but how do you blend them in a way that...
Right? Well, you've been to Freya, right? You've been to, we did Urban Vegan Roots together. Everything, when I step on a stage as a musician, right, there has to be a purpose. Like
100%.
I get called, people ask, yo, why come do the show? I go, what's the point? And they're like, oh, just come and do a set. And I go, what are we communicating? Music and art is the highest levels of communication. So for me, whenever I take it out there, whether it's Freya, that's why all those events were donation based. That's why we held space for everyone to get on the stage, right? I always, for me, this is how I sleep at night. I made a pact with the Most High that says, wherever I take my art, I'm going to serve community. It's just what it is, man. So like, for me specifically, I can get into the details, partnerships with venues like Freya, now with Urban Vegan Roots, connecting into community cultivators, which is we always honor other folks, and creating a platform to use art to build community. We did events to support the music programs that got taken out of the schools. We are, you know, I showed up with the axe and we playing in Suga Ray for the tent. You know what I mean? These are the places where he did a hunger strike, for those who don't know. This is where I choose to take the art, you know, and I built creative expressions based on this to do community work, to help other people become artivists, as you see on the roster, to train other people to do this, to know. It's just like me talking to my younger self when I didn't believe I could do it. I just keep on bringing it to the community. So the other part of it is, you know, as you know, we provide vegan food at our stuff. We want to bring in those health components. People come to my house and we jam after the shows.
Yeah, we do.
And those are the most lit things that are ill. So to me, these are non-negotiables. People come to my house, people stay. We come to the roof. We show up in Astoria Park. We do whatever it takes to bring this to the streets. Because what's the point? This ain't about blowing up or making bread. Those are going to be byproducts of just
100% of service.
The lotus can only grow in the mud. The richest mud is the only place that can give the nutrients that can blossom a lotus flower. So for me, I look at this art as I don't play with the art. You know, that's why we take it serious. I put in a lot of hours every day. So these are the methods I use. It's a pedagogy that is based on the word cipher, which has original Northern African origins from the word sephir, which is for zero, which also is the circle. Which means hip hop making something out of nothing. The people who are the most oppressed and people face the most highest challenges, mental illness, you name it, y'all are actually the best people to change the world.
100%. That's
Black people so strong. We go through the most shit, And then that makes you the most advantageous to change the world.
100%. No, and that reminds me of something, my brother Glenn Martin once said. Glenn Martin says, those closest to the problem are also closest to the solution, but furthest away from the resources and power.
Wow.
Right.
That's
Glenn Martin is...
Ooh, that's from a
Glenn
book?
Martin. No. He's a human. I know him personally. He said it in interviews. He says it. And since he's said it, many institutions, many organizations have tried to reword it and put it out as their own. Right. You should definitely follow him on Twitter. He's very active on Twitter.
Glenn Martin. See, you giving the knowledge, and that's what it is. I think it was Bell Hooks who said, activism is my rent for living on the planet,
Well, and Muhammad Ali said, service is my rent for living on the planet.
Exactly.
Right? Muhammad Ali said that, 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah, so you already know. The knowledge is there. We are continuing the same thing that the Panthers did. We are continuing what the revolution through, whether it was salsa music, hip hop, punk, soul, jazz, gospel, the roots of all of these music are based in freedom from oppression. So 100%. As an artist and a musician, like that's what it is. And I think anybody who sticks, I'm on year 15. So
powerful.
I'm
on year 15. That's crazy. I'm on year 15 of my work.
Exactly, bro. So this is why you and I connected at this time. We ain't new to this. We true to this, right?
Facts.
It takes, and you dedicate your life to this, man.
This is all I do. This is my life's mission.
Same here. This is why you and I A alike, B alike, and we see alike.
I got World Healer tatted on my hand. My life's mission is to heal the world, man. And I've known that since I was 7 years old. In spite of the pain, in spite of the challenges, my life's mission is to heal the world and to take all the stones, right, to build the house, right? It's like pain propels you. Pain fuels you. Pain, if you transform it, if you embrace it and lean into it and extract the wisdom from it, it can become your power. So that which causes the greatest pain can then become your greatest power. And not only can you propel yourself, but if you truly serve, you can propel a whole community and the whole world. And that's what we're doing in this work. So with that, let's go to creative expressions. What is creative expressions and why did you build it?
As you know, and as you mentioned, I just started putting everybody in the band. I started putting everybody into the community work, right? And it got bigger than I expected, right? Mm-hmm. That's why I tell people, surrender to the source. The source will take you beyond where your wildest dreams can happen. As I started working in the community as a teaching artist, as a fellow freelancer, I was filling out W-9s, right? So this is a love letter that happened with the IRS. I shout out to the good old folks at the IRS. They waited. I started making bread. I started doing teaching work, doing shows and getting paid. As I got paid, I didn't know how taxes work. I was just signing these W-9s and getting checks. They waited like 4 years till they added up all my money that I made over like 50 grand. And then they tried to tax me on all the money. They said, you owe taxes on, and I was like, holy shit. And I was like, yo, what we gonna do? My cousin at the time, this is a powerful story because she's no longer with us. She was going to school to be an accountant.
Wow.
And then I was like, yo, the IRS just hit me telling me I owe taxes on 50 stacks. I had no money. I put all the money back into living in New York City. I was like, yo, I'm done. I saw the numbers they was trying to hit me with. I felt like they was trying to hit me with them football numbers, And I was like, yo, what am I going to do? So I hit my cousin because I knew she was going to school for accounting. I was like, yo, cuz, I got a letter from the IRS. They telling me I owe this bread. I was like, I'm signing these W-9s. I never got nothing. She's like, you didn't do your taxes on it? I said, nah, we don't do no taxes. We just get the money and spend it.
Get the money and spend it.
We know how to do it. And she was like, look, you're going to have to build a company to shelter yourself because you got too big. They waited, and now you over the radar because if you make a little one band or 500, they ain't coming for that. They wait until you get big, and then that's why they wait. They try to hit you with the Wesley Snipes, you know what I mean, and all of that. So they try to crush you to put you in debt. This is a gem of life. So I said, I bet. I sat with my cousin. I said, cuz, what I got to do? She says, what we're going to do is we're going to create a company, and you have to now put all these as business expenses. Every time you sign a W-9, put your company name. You got to get an EIN. You got to start reporting expenses. You got to get a company card. And she's like, don't worry. We're going to take care of this. And you're actually going to owe nothing in 1 year. And I was like,
powerful.
I was like, so this is what it said. You got to know the system. It's like spook who sat by the door. You got to know what's going on to break the rules. She started a company and I had to pick a name. And I was like, well, what am I going to say? And I said, well, what is the thing that I will always want to do in my life? And I thought back to that moment I got stabbed. I said, creative expression is the key to life. If you express it, if I would have not stopped expressing my creativity, I would have never got into the street stuff. So I was like creative expressions. You know, I had to do it unlimited because somebody else had the other one, but it was Creative Expressions Unlimited was the name of the company, and it founded 2013, exactly 10 years ago was when it incorporated.
Powerful.
So yeah, it was there, brother. And the other thing I have to say, rest in peace to my cousin. She was murdered a few years ago. So like, and like her murderer fled the country. It was wild shit. So like, yo, I always felt like that was God, that she is the one who started, and she got her CPA. 100%. And one of her first acts as a CPA was to build Creative Expressions.
Incredible.
Shout out to my cousin Jessica.
Shout out to Jessica.
And Anthony. And I felt like her spirit is embedded in the
100% of this.
Because it would not exist. You can see the goosebumps right there. Yeah, it's 100%. Like she speaks through me, and I keep her on there. And every time I do anything Creative Expressions, I keep the spirit of Matthew Hall, the spirit of her, and my other dude who unfortunately committed suicide earlier this year, Roberto Enamorado. Who those are, you know, you're no stranger to people transcending.
Yeah, man. All of the ways.
That's how it got started. Yeah.
Nice. In a few minutes, in 2 to 3 minutes, tell us, how can other artists, activists, artivists be involved with Creative Expressions? What can they do with Creative Expression? Like, how can Creative Expressions benefit other artists?
Yeah. So Suga Ray is part of the team. So we have the website is flashing on the bottom, creativeexpressions.co. We have a group chat on Instagram where the simplest thing is you can receive resources, no money's involved. We have our bi-weekly networking builds. Suga Ray's hosting our next one coming up on Monday. So he's locking in. And then the third thing is on the Creative Expression page, we have 2 spaces which are act as hubs. One, you know, I tell Suga Ray, send me the joints. So I can be part of his profile. Good reminder. So just like Suga Ray will do when he's free, you can create a profile for your work. So if you are doing any form of artivism, music, dance, speaking, you name it, Creative Expressions wants to help you get more work. And then the other thing we have is community partners, which I want Suga Ray to be both. If he chooses to, when he chooses to.
Of course, man. I need
you can send your logo, and under our main page, we have our community partners link, which, you know, Suga Ray's company can be displayed. So you can be represented as an individual through your services as long as you do something that is creative and community-based. Yep. Can't just be for yourself. Those are the 2 things. And then you set your rates, you lock it in, we host your profile. Anywhere we go for work, people see the entire squad. The second level is community partners, where if you have an LLC, a company, an entity, you name it, we want to show you, just like the red carpet shows everything. I'm not waiting for other people to put us on. We're putting ourselves on. So you can hit me up over there on my website is the contact page. You can send the email and I will give you all the info. And I also do free 30-minute consultations. If anybody wants to schedule those things, they're more than welcome to do so on the Creative Expression site. And then my personal website is Why Not Show Love, all correct spelling, WHYNOTSHOWLOV.com for all of my music stuff. So the arts education work, Creative Expressions, whynotshowlove.com for the personal work. If you want beats, musician stuff, hit me up for any of that stuff. We good money.
Powerful. Man, you shared a lot with us, brother. If you can recap, right? Or if you can leave us with some words of inspiration, some words of empowerment, some lasting words for our viewers, what would those words be?
You know what we're going to do? We're going to do it the way we always do it in the park, right?
Let's get it.
Let's go. Let's see. Don't know what the words to say. Bouncing off around all the way. We came from the place where shots ricochet, but there's always something, a brighter day. We ain't vegan on our weekends. We been moving like indecent. Got bars like it's a precinct, but we still gotta love it. The words I should say is love yourself and the key is optimal health. That's mental, physical, and spiritual. Just know you're in a community, but you're an individual, so you gotta drink water and exercise, because the demons over here, they want us fried, but we ain't gonna do this. Ain't no homicide. The only person you gotta kill is your old self to make room for the new. Ain't did it in school, did what I did, it's like I had to do. Said I love you, we love you, we love you, but you gotta love you too. Always let the art speak. I love you, my man Suga Ray.
Yo,
we doing this on the dot, divine timing. Holla at us. We got the music. We got all that. We here.
Yo, so powerful, brother. So powerful. So powerful. Real quick, what do you have coming up?
Yes, so we got a lot of good things coming up. Next on Suga Ray and I are working on a park joint for September. That's coming in. Suga Ray and I are working on another version of the cycle at Urban Vegan Roots. That's going to be coming up soon. There'll be a community event page listed in. Shout out to Two Feathers. We are now working on our meditation album.
Yes.
Meditation record coming soon.
Collaboration.
Yes. Obviously, anything my man Suga Ray need, we scoring everything my brother do in the Suga Ray movie coming out. We on the soundtrack. Look out for that. We back it up, everybody. And we're continuing to do this. David from Urban Vegan Roots has asked me to start doing music for brunch on Saturdays. So, it's going to be there. It's going to be there. And I got a couple shows coming up. We're doing something in Times Square on the 22nd of this month. But hit me up on whynotshowlove.com. We have the community events page. It's all going to be there. But we got a lot of things coming in. I've been working on making a book from all the Artivist Network and Bills. The Network and Bill sessions are there. And we're always jamming. We're always making music. We're doing recording sessions in the studio in the Bronx. I'm going to record at TJ's later today. So it's a lot of good stuff. Just tune in, tap in. Why Not Show Love on Instagram too. And just hit the link in the bio and the link tree, and all the information on any events is coming up. And it's always going to be on the website, always going to be promoted there. And join us anytime.
Yo, incredible, brother. You are phenomenal. You are an incredible human. You are an incredible artist, artivist. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your service. I thank you for doing this interview. I love you. Yo, everybody, your boy, LaShawn Suga Ray Marston here with the Suga Ray Show. Another incredible episode. I'm so happy. I hope that you all tune in. I hope that you share this episode with your family, with your friends, with your entire network. The brother offers so much personal testimony, so much wisdom extracted from being stabbed, almost dying, from having trouble at home with finding his way, coming from a Guyanese background, pursuing music. There's so much to learn there. He shared the wisdom of the Black woman at school who informed his mother that he wasn't a bad kid. He was intelligent and just in that environment. So he is exactly what we need, right? He embodied everything that was given to him, the good and the bad, and he poured it, he extracted it, and he now shares it with the world through music, through his love for community, and we are all better because you are, brother. So thank you very much, and as always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. We all we got, and we all we need. Peace.
Love y'all. Why not show love?